Anime YouTube is competitive, and I want to make it better. This will teach you how to transform YouTube as a market and what YouTubers and upcoming YouTubers can do to make it great again. Orientalism is the way the Western world typically views themselves as superior to other nations, specifically the East. It is a faulty way of thinking, as what we would typically call the division of mode of the Western Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere. The Western Hemisphere being nearly all of North America, South Africa, Central America, the Caribbean islands, which is connected to Latin America, and the Eastern Hemisphere, being Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. While the Americas are typically considered part of the Western Hemisphere, they also extend into the Eastern Hemisphere, as a prime meridian passes through the western edge of Africa. Similarly, some parts of Asian countries and African countries extend into the Western Hemisphere. The division is more of a geographical concept rather than a strict boundary for specific countries. Orientalism has historical roots in European colonial encounters with the East, particularly during the 8th and 19th centuries. Western scholars, artists, and writers contributed to shaping perceptions of the Orient, often influenced by colonial interests and power dynamics. 3 writers that contributed to Orientalism were 1. Sir William Jones, 2. Arthur James Balfour, and 3. Evelyn Baring. 3 philosophers that contributed to Orientalism were 1. Immanuel Kant, 2. George William Friedrich Hegel, and 3. Karl Marx. Orientalism involves the cultural construction and representation of the East by Western societies. Western scholarship and artistic representations of the East often perpetuate stereotypes and reinforce power imbalances between the West and the East. Orientalist ideas and representation have had a profound impact on Western policies and public perceptions of the Eastern cultures. They played a role in shaping colonial policies, justifying imperialist endeavors, and influencing how the Orient is perceived in the Western imagination. An example would be how Orientalist ideas impacted U.S. policy in the Gulf War in the 1990 through 1991. The Gulf War, also known as the Persian Gulf War, triggered by Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. A coalition led by the United States intervened to expel Iraqi forces. Operation Desert Storm, a massive air campaign followed by a ground offensive, led to the liberation of Kuwait. The conflict had geopolitical implication and left a lasting impact on the region, with long-term consequences for Iraq and its relations with the international community. The U.S. involvement in the Gulf region was influenced by certain Orientalist perceptions and stereotypes, particularly regarding Iraq and its leader, Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was often depicted in Western media as a tyrant with a threatening, unpredictable demeanor. The U.S. government, justifying its intervention, emphasized the need to protect Western interests and ensure stability in the face of perceived aggression from the Oriental dictator. These depictions contributed to a specific narrative that influenced public opinion and policy decisions surrounding the Gulf War. The complex geopolitical factors involved, including oil interests and Cold War legacies, were intertwined with Orientalist representations that shaped the conversation around the conflict. For more information regarding Orientalism, I suggest reading Edward Said's book called Orientalism. Occidentalism is the way the Eastern world typically views themselves as superior to other nations, specifically the West. It is a faulty way of thinking. Occidentalism has historical roots in the encounters between non-Western cultures and Western societies. It gained prominence as scholars and thinkers outside the West engaged with and critiqued Western ideologies, cultural practices, and political structures. 3 writers that contributed to Occidentalism were 1. Joseph Conrad, 2. Carl Jung, and 3. Jack London. 3 philosophers that contributed to Occidentalism were 1. Arthur D. Gobineau, 2. Herbert Spencer, and 3. Auguste Comte. Occidentalism involves the cultural construction and representation of the Western world from a non-Western perspective. It explores how the West is portrayed in literature, art, and the media by those who are situated outside Western societies. Similar to Orientalism influencing global perceptions of the East, Occidentalism shapes how people around the world view the West. Non-Western perspectives on the West can be influenced by historical encounters, global power dynamics, and the dissemination of Western cultural products. An example of how Occidentalism has shaped policies can be observed in certain anti-Western sentiments that have influenced diplomatic relations and policy decisions in some non-Western countries. For instance, the Iran and anti-Western sentiment in the case of Iran historical events, including the CIA-backed coup in 1953 and the support for the autocratic rule of Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, contributed to a deep-seated anti-Western sentiment. The CIA-backed coup in 1953 refers to the covert operation led by the United States and the United Kingdom to overthrow the democratically elected Prime Minister of Iran, Mohammad Mossadegh. Mossadegh had nationalized the Iranian oil industry, which posed a threat to Western oil interests. In Operation Ajax, the CIA orchestrated the removal of Mossadegh and the reinstatement of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi to consolidate Western influence in the region. The coup had far-reaching consequences, contributing to the political landscape in Iran and shaping U.S. involvement in the Middle East during the Cold War. This sentiment was fueled by perceptions of the West as imperialistic and culturally intrusive. In the late 1970s, the Iranian Revolution led to the establishment of an Islamic Republic, marked by a rejection of Western influence and values. This anti-Western sentiment stance has influenced Iran's foreign policy decisions, including its relationships with the United States and other Western nations. It's important to note that while Occidentalism can shape sentiments and influence policies, its impact is complex and may vary across different regions and contexts. Political, historical, and cultural factors are contributing to the shaping of policies influenced by perceptions of the West from a non-Western perspective. For more information, I suggest reading the book Occidentalism, The West in the Eyes of Its Enemies by Buruma and Avishai Margalit. Capitalism is an economic system where businesses and industries are owned by private individuals or companies rather than the government. In this system, people can buy and sell goods and services freely, and the prices are often determined by supply and demand. It's a system that encourages competition and aims to create wealth through individual initiative and innovation. Capitalism is like a big playground where people can choose what toys they want to make and play with. In this playground, you can use your own ideas and hard work to make new toys or provide services, and others might want to buy them from you. The more popular your toys and services are, the more play money you can earn. This way, everyone has a chance to create, share, and have their favorite toys while playing together. In the context of anime YouTube, our internet culture is consumer-driven, unfairly hierarchical, and centered around hard work. Hard work can lead to people rushing products rather than spending genuine time with their work. Anime used to be so good growing up for me, but it has gotten to the point where YouTubers just don't feel genuine, although it depends what you watch. But this is based on my personal choices. Although I don't watch anime YouTube as much, but when I do, I watch YouTubers that I feel are consistent with what I want. The type of stuff I desire is a combination of intellectual humor and honesty, preferably 10 to 20 minutes long videos. If any YouTuber changes in a way that I don't like, I will look for different YouTubers and watch them less over time. For Neverworld is a popular anime YouTuber I used to watch, but I stopped. I noticed a trend across his channel that made me not like him as much. One of his most popular video predicted Boruto. For Neverworld had a predictable career. His type of videos would be reactions and reviews. Now, I'm okay with reactions if it has meaningful substance, but it has gotten to the point where it is just reactions for the sake of reactions. Either it be something from anime, manga, or Japan related. His reviews are not genuine reviews in the traditional sense. They literally can be summarized as a summary of what happened in the manga or anime, his feelings about it, but rarely any meaningful thought-provoking responses. Reviews in a traditional sense are critical evaluations of something. In anime, it involves an analysis and an opinion about it that helps gives a better understanding of what something could be to improve, or simply things you agreed with and disagreed with, and some alternative vision of what you consumed. That used to be his entire channel. Nowadays, his pseudo-reviews are not as common as they used to be, and it has shifted to less uploads on reviews, and I'm sure he still reads the mainstream stuff, but he's not doing every review for everything as much as he used to do. Now, I will give him a beneficial remark is that his pseudo-reviews provided a gateway to what manga is like for many newcomers, and what was and still is an outlet of an imagination of what manga is like for people that either read manga or who don't, but these provide as alternatives to the genuine experience of reading manga. Chibi Reviews is similar to World. It does the same thing, but usually is more reactive with his fans on YouTube. What I mean by this is that he is too personal and his emotions influence his content too much, to the point where he may say personal stuff about his life that is irrelevant to his content. He also uploads too many videos in a week compared to World. The problem with uploading nearly every day is that it becomes too obviously about profit and less about putting meaning that can transform the audience's perspectives. It does have something that keeps fans going, is that they feel like they are having a genuine relationship with him. Now, don't trust me that I assume it is about profit. Recognize this is just my unascertainable assumption, so don't go accuse Chibi Reviews of doing it just for profit unless he says it is about profit. The Anime Man, unlike the rest, he has a unique side to him, is that he is adorable. By this I mean he brings his own cultural heritage of being half Japanese that makes him so fun to watch. When I watched him as a regular, the things that made him good was when it used to be more about anime and the connections to Japan. The problem I have is that he has become less about that. His videos over time became less creative in terms of providing substance. Now they are more vlogging about his time in Japan or spending time with someone famous. Anime YouTube can briefly be explained that the problems I see are: 1, reaction videos. Taking people's videos that they worked on is just cheap and unfair to people who actually work very hard. 2, fake reviews. It is just a summary of what happened in the chapter. 3, reacting to whatever is popular with little to no passion. That is all. The problem with subjective perceptions of YouTube personalities is that they can lead to disagreements and misunderstandings among viewers, since subjective opinions are based on personal preferences rather than consistent criteria. It can be challenging to reach consensus or evaluate a personality's performance impartially. Additionally, subjective perceptions may limit the ability to critically assess a YouTube personality's content or behavior objectively. What I noticed across all 3 of these YouTubers is as more wealth came in, they became less creative. This is called the income effect. The income effect is a concept in economics and sociology that explores how changes in income can influence people's behaviors, including their work choices and consumption patterns. Individuals with significant wealth might experience a reduced need to work or supply goods because they have achieved a level of financial security that satisfies their basic needs. This concept is related to the diminishing marginal utility of wealth, where additional units of wealth contribute less to overall well-being as one's wealth increases. As a result, individuals with preponderant wealth may choose to allocate their time differently, engaging in activities other than traditional labor or production. Individuals with substantial income may choose to work less, is often associated with the concept of leisure preference or income-leisure trade-off. This concept is rooted in the idea that as income rises, individuals may opt for more leisure time or choose to reduce their work hours because they have achieved a certain level of financial comfort or satisfaction. In economic and sociological terms, this behavior is part of the broader discussion on how changes in income influence people's choices regarding work and leisure. It ties into concepts like the diminishing marginal utility of income, where additional income provides diminishing additional satisfaction or well-being. Now, in order to fix anime YouTube, here are the things you need to do. 1. Dismantle stereotypes and prejudgments that favor one culture or another. 2. Recognize what is weird and not weird is historically and culturally contingent. And 3. Understand the culture and speak and understand from the culture without using your ethnocentric perspective. Be culturally relative and acknowledge that what is good, just like what is normal food, is different from societies. This means getting rid of Orientalism in your own life and Occidentalism in your own life if it is something that is in your own life. For many anime YouTubers, they need to recognize and accept that when they call certain cultural practices weird, they're being ethnocentric and need to think outside the box. No culture has any intrinsic nature that is fixed and uniquely superior. It may be superior and inferior in some areas, but it's still not superior as a whole. The little things do not make anything superior. This is a form of cultural essentialism, which is the belief that there are certain cultural traits that are inalienable to a culture. Stop viewing Japan and Japanese culture as weird. And of course, this applies to every culture, but view it as normal. If you want to understand the culture, ask people there without projecting your cultural identity onto others. Seek sources from native speakers and native resources. At the end of the day, regarding anime YouTube, ask yourself, what are you doing this for? Do you want to do this forever or only temporarily? Have a consistent standard without drifting too off subject and catch yourself, and always desire critiques.